So I'm really excited to get into this discussion for you guys. Now, we're going to be talking about a lot of questions that the community has been asking, and some of them are a little bit harder to answer, but I felt like NeonGutz would be a fantastic person to bring along for this podcast because we're going to be discussing the state of the finals. Is the game dying? A lot of those kind of topics that I think a lot of the community continuously asks, and we both have very different kind of perspectives when it comes to content creation in terms of what our goals are and what we want to try and push out there. NeonGutz loves to focus on his community, making entertaining content, and just having fun, whereas I like to focus a lot on educational and competitive stuff. So we kind of have different viewpoints in terms of where the game kind of sits. However, we get along really well, and I think his perspective is extremely crucial when discussing a lot of stuff like meta and balancing, because I would say he represents a lot of the player base that's just there to have fun and isn't there to just kind of sweat. So when it comes to some of these discussions, it's going to be really interesting to see the different perspectives
This
that we
isn't
could
gameplay. This is lame play. Let's put something good on.
I'm sorry, but what are you doing here? Who are you?
The guy that's in charge of entertainment around here?
Okay, rude?
That's fine, we can kill.
Oh no,
We gotta
thanks
slaughter
for
them. That's
subscribing
what
to
we have to do. Hey, no way.
Nice, good wipes.
I'm one of the best in the game. Thank you for the tier 1.
Okay, sorry for the interruption there. Let's just get right to the interview. Thank you for sitting down with me, Neon. And before we get into it, do you mind just telling people a little bit about yourself? And, when did you start broadcasting, stuff like that?
Yeah, my name's NeonGutz. I also go by the broadcaster. I'm live every day, always playing the finals, pretty much exclusively on the light build with the grappling hook is sort of my signature loadout. And I play World Tour. I'm just looking to have a good time on the game.
Now, you specifically broadcast. You don't stream, but have you ever streamed?
Yeah, I used to stream a long time ago. And then I decided to really try to take the production up to another level, started ordering cameras and foot pedals and different screens and lights. And so now the studios come to a certain point where I don't like to refer to the broadcast as a stream any longer. And I make sure that the chat as well is on board with that.
Yeah, I think we're all aware, and we definitely try to watch our tongue around there. But did this entire branding that you have around the Neonverse, was this something that has slowly grown over the years, or was there sort of a flip from when you were streaming one game and then you decided, you know what, I'm just going to start broadcasting, and you kind of flipped over to the Neonverse, or was this sort of like a build up with your community over the years?
So when I first started out, I was mostly just streaming because I was playing video games anyways. So I just figured it was during the COVID times, everyone was on lockdown. I might as well stream it. And then slowly I just got into it and just kept upgrading the setup and whatnot. And then that kind of allowed me to get a little bit more creative with some of the content I was creating. And so slowly from there, we just kept building on it. Each day we tried to add something new. And then eventually it just sort of became its whole universe.
Yeah, I feel like I've been browsing Twitch streams and stuff for a while, and when I came across yours, I almost felt overwhelmed, and I feel like you've definitely worked on a lot of different techniques, stuff like that. You've found a good balance where you've kind of hit that entertaining design and everything. So I've been really glad to see that there's somebody within this community that's really putting in the effort. So just want to say thank you for all that. And now I want to get into talking about the finals, and I want to start with a question that I think a lot of people always like to throw around, and I really want to get your perspective because you are somebody who comes to this game looking purely for entertainment. You want to build a community and you want to have fun in this game. Whereas somebody like me, I love kind of taking the approach of being educational, focusing a lot on, high elo competitive content. But at the end of the day, this is a game and this is fun. But do you think that this game is dying? And if it is, do you even care?
Oh, I would be devastated. No, I don't think this game is dying at all. I play the game all day, every day, basically, and I never wait in line to get into a game for longer than a minute, maybe a minute and a half queue time. And that goes for if I'm playing ranked, world tour, or quick cash, you can always get into a game. Just because it doesn't have the biggest player base out there doesn't mean that it's dying by any means. And from what I've seen, the players that I've talked to, and I've talked to a lot of them, they all really love the game that they're playing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the terminology of a dying game has been kind of lost because realistically, we've had games for a long time. I've been playing games for a lot of my life, and popular games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, whatever, like there was a large player base because there wasn't many games. And I feel like we've gotten to a point where there is a massive variety of games. Hopping on and trying to find a game to play can feel overwhelming because there's such a large variety of them that I think people always look at these numbers of like, well, it has to have millions of players active in order to be considered a thriving game or a living game. But I think if you look at most of the FPS releases in the past like decade, the finals is one of the best, like most successful releases in terms of player base. Sure, it's not massive, right? We're not like Valorant numbers, but we're doing quite well when it comes to the team that we have at Embark. And I think you probably agree with me, but I think the player base is very like dedicated. The community here is a lot different than a lot of other games. And I know you've played Valorant. Can you kind of speak about like your different in experience versus Valorant and other games and the community that we have in the finals?
Yeah. So kind of like I said, the people that play this game really do enjoy the game. And what I mean by that, with my experience in Valorant, when you talk to somebody who's addicted to Valorant and playing it all the time, if it's ranked, if it's unranked, if it's Swift play, whatever, most of the time, or maybe a lot of the time, they're complaining about the game. Whereas you get a little bit less of that in the finals. Of course, you get some of it, but overall, I think the people that play this game and the player base is actually really passionate about the game versus just addicted to it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the way that this game is designed is very unique. There's not really like the traditional arcade shooter. It's not the tac shooter that we're kind of used to. We have a game that is not like any other shooter. And I think that's what makes the player base so passionate and so, I don't know, cool. Like I feel like I know a lot of the people, even when I'm browsing different Twitch channels. Like I get to see a lot of the same members, and a lot of the people that I interact
Absolutely.
with are super. Like, they're just super cool. Like I could go to your broadcast and I'll see a couple people in chat that will recognize me, and I get to talk to them. And then I go to somebody else's channel, and all of a sudden I'm seeing the same people there. Like it's really nice to see that because I feel like in a lot of other games that I've played, it really does feel like everybody kind of sticks to their own, preferred channel or streamer. And you don't really get that sense of community that you do in the finals. But do you think that there's going to be like a player base count that would deter you from playing? Or are you going to keep playing, as long as you can get queues? Or are you with the game till it dies?
Um, Definitely sticking with finals. At least as far as I can see, as long as I can keep getting into a queue and they keep updating the game, then it's good by me. And I think that they will. Embark has seemed like they're not in it for short term. They seem like they're in it for the long run here. So I'm just kind of excited to be along for the journey of it.
Now, I want to ask you, what attracted you to the finals?
I am an ex Apex player. I played a lot of Apex Legends earlier whenever I was streaming, and what attracted me to that game was the movement. And um, there was a lot of things I don't like about Battle Royale is the looting and all the downtime, but the movement and the way that some of the fights felt in Apex, where you engage and then you feel like you're losing the fight, you have to disengage, pop a shield battery, reposition, whatever you have to do. But that's what got me addicted to Apex was those clutch situations where you just pull off some stuff that you didn't think was possible or your team didn't think was possible. The finals to me is that, but like all the time, almost every cash out, you feel like you're in a nice hot drop with one of the best guns. You just looted a barrel and you got a purple magazine and you can just go off. Um, in terms of movement, you kind of have a similar style of movement, but instead of repositioning to pop a shield battery and you got to sit still, you just got to keep moving till your health regenerates. At least, there's so many different ways to play the game, but that's sort of the style of the light that I play. And that just gives me a feeling that no other game can compete with, not even close.
Yeah, I do feel like this is a weird amalgamation of a lot of different games that I've been into. Like I like Call of Duty, but I liked it for the customizable loadouts, and you get that in the finals. I also do like Apex because yeah, there is those times where there's those hot drops where when you're geared facing other geared players and you have that movement, it feels really nice. And so
Yep.
that I think you said that quite well. When you're at a cash out and there's like multiple teams fighting, it feels like a hot drop. It's really exciting, and that is sort of bottled into the finals. So again, that's another thing I like. Another thing is I absolutely love objective based games. I kind of have been really bored of like TDM stuff, battle royales, where it's just all about kills. There's not enough strategy that goes into it. In the finals, with the cash out, there's so much strategy, and I think that
Yeah.
is almost a deterrent for a lot of people who just want to mindlessly come in and play, and they realize they have to use their brain a little bit. What about the finals as a whole is your least favorite aspect?
So like you mentioned before, I kind of cater to the more entertainment side of things when it comes to creating content and playing the game. So I've loved the goofiness that the player base discovers. So like nade grappling, for example, or goose ships. I don't like when those things are removed. I was hoping, unless it's interfering with the competitive meta, because I know some people do like to play this game competitively, and I totally respect that. As long as it's not interfering with that as much, I feel like that sort of thing can stay in the game for the people like me, just trying to have some funny moments and good clips. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of like weird tech that has been in the game, and I'm gonna shout out Truce here. I don't know if you do know him. He's very good at
I love
MGL.
Truce.
Yeah, and he has tons of weird movement tech. He's shown the community a lot of weird glitches and stuff over the years, and there's been definitely some that I think go a little bit too far in terms of, you know, quote unquote fun game mechanics. I think the most obvious one is the nuke. I don't even think you lived through the hell that a lot of us had to go through in season 1. But the nuke was basically where you throw like 2 C4s onto a red barrel and you throw it and you can instantly blow up an entire team within, one press of a button. And obviously certain things like that, while they are kind of fun, just kind of ruin the game for a lot of people. And I think there needs to be a kind of fine line of where they walk and what they keep. And it gets very difficult when they allow too many things. I think the grapple nading and stuff like that, in my opinion, wasn't even like that good of a tactic. It was very flashy, it was fun, but when it comes to competitive, I didn't really see a lot of use cases for it in terms of like the comp scene. So I think it
Mhm.
was one of those things that 100% could have been left in. It was a really fun mechanic. I started learning it a little bit after I was watching, forget whose video they made about a tutorial, and then I end up seeing you using it quite a bit. And I thought, you know what, let me try that out. And there might have been like very rare use cases, but I don't think enough to really push the meta in a way where they would start having to balance around it. So I definitely think that there's a lot of things that they could have done. There's also a trick that I remember back in season 1 that was similar to the whole grapple nade thing, but it was a little different. It involved using a red barrel and a motion sensor with grapple, and the motion sensor actually used to be on light, believe it or not. And you basically just threw a motion sensor onto red barrel, throw it, and then you could grapple to grab onto it. And this was a trick that could kind of get you across the map. Now, that was one of the points where I'm like, okay, I could see this being a little bit too much exploity, but it was a really fun mechanic. And I would love for them to keep fun mechanics, even like the goose ship, but it just needs to, I don't know, it needs to sit in a way that like works for the game. I had said I would rather them just remove goose ship if they're not going to fix it, because there was a lot of issues with it, especially on the receiving end. I faced Akazo a lot in ranked back when we had terminal attack, and he used the goose ship a lot. And one issue I had was whenever the goose ship appeared on my screen, there was a huge desync to where the goo was, where the hitbox was, where the barricades were, where the anti-grav was, and where the players were. They're all like in different positions than where they should be. And that obviously is just a function that the game is not really intended to do. And so if they would have just polished it up and made it function correctly, they can even balance it by, slowing it down, speeding it up, whatever felt right. But I think encouraging people to have really fun mechanics and using them is the way to go. But we obviously need to tweak it. Like the grenade thing, grappling it, I would have loved to see them make the hitboxes bigger for grapple to be able to make that easier to use, and then find some way to tweak it. Like maybe when you grab it, the trajectory kind of slows down and maybe you don't go as far if it started to become something that was being abused.
Yeah, like totally. Like I said, if it was affecting the ranked or competitive tournaments and things like that, and that's not the direction that the game wanted to go, like say the meta became two heavies or two lights slingshotting in on grenades for whatever reason, and that's not what people wanted, then you have to take it out, fine. But I'm just over here on World Tour, fully dressed up as a bird, trying to embody being one of the sky ones. And now you've removed it, and I'm not sure what to do with these 50 bird feeders I bought on Amazon last night. So,
Well, I'm really sorry to hear that your dreams of being a bird are being crushed by Embark, but I'm sure you will find some other cool things you can add to your goo collection. I know you like collecting goo.
absolutely. I mean, the cool part about this game and movement shooters like this is there's so many things to discover that the devs might not even know about yet at that work with the movement well. And then there's these different arcs throughout the history of the game. Like there is now, January 2025 as the Sky One arc. It's beautiful for the history of the game and the lore.
Well, I think this is a really good segue into my next question of what do you think could help grow the game's population? I know we talked about it before that, I think the population's doing quite well, but I think that's always a question people ask me, and I'm sure you get asked it a lot, is like, what does Embark have to do to grow the population? Do you have anything that you think could help?
So for growing the game, I think that a lot of people forget that this is Embark's first game and it's only a year old, right? Whereas something like Call of Duty had or has had a fan base building for the last multiple decades. Finals has only had a year to grow their fan base, so I think it will continue to grow as long as they continue to add updates and put the love into the game that they have been doing. Engaging with the community, the devs being so involved, doing things like community streams is great for getting the word out there, and as well as the partner program that they started with a lot of their creators. I think you're a part of that as well, and I think that that's great marketing for them too.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the marketing and stuff, I like the approach that they've been taking, and I hope that it kind of keeps working for them. And when I do look at the game's population, I've noticed that it's kind of just staying the same, which means I feel like the people who are playing the game are actively enjoying it. And we had a massive spike in the beginning. And I think the fact is, this game is just unique. And most unique games are not going to have a massive player base. Typically, you need to appeal to, the masses with another tac shooter, another arcade shooter, another battle royale. And this game just might not be for a lot of people, but I've honestly talked to a lot of people that have tried it out and didn't really stick with it, like a lot of my friends or, players that I've known for the years. And it's unanimous that every single person has said, yeah, the game's good. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't really want to keep playing it. I'm like, I get that. Like I've played tons of fantastic games, but I'm like, yeah, this just isn't for me. So I
Yeah,
think
that
them
does
just
make sense. I will say though, I've had a different experience. The people that I've shown the game to, for the most part, I've gotten a positive response from them, and I think including new YouTube comments and things like that that you just see on the daily basis. Hey, I just got into this game. Where has it been? I think a lot of people just don't know about it, even though it is a pretty niche shooter. It is something unique, and I think that the industry has been starving for that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the like I think FPS genre as a whole is a very interesting community because I agree. I think that we have been starved for something that's unique, and the finals back way back when I saw like a preview for this before I even got to play in like the closed alpha. I've been there for the game for its inception. I've been there for so long, and the moment that I noticed what they were trying to achieve, I knew that I was like, this is the game for me. They finally are making something unique, and almost every other FPS out there is just trying to copy and paste the previous thing that was successful. And I think a lot of people are constantly asking for something unique, but it is a little bit ironic that I feel like a lot of times that games do deliver something unique, people just go back to the same thing they've been playing for a decade. And so it is
Yeah,
hard for people to kind of shift away from what they're used to in order to try something out like this. But yeah, there's obviously tons of people that I've met, a lot of new people coming, and the game is growing. I know even on my YouTube side, I've been seeing tons of new people coming to the game, really excited about it. And I'm only speaking for people that I know have played it in the past. And I was trying to figure out, hey, why are people quitting? Why are people leaving? But it seems like people have positive views of it, even if it isn't something that really connects to them. So I don't think that there really needs to be anything they need to do to make the game grow. I think what they're doing is good, and it just needs a little bit of time. Like you said, it's still kind of an infant where like you compared COD and a lot of other games that have been around for a very long time just have had the time to grow. And so I
yep.
think we just need to give the finals that time to shine. Now, I want to kind of get into some more strategies and meta related stuff. And I know that you like using off meta strategies and you really like, making a playstyle that is unique to you and that you can kind of grow from. I feel pretty similar in that way, but I still like to kind of explore the meta. But when it comes to you playing solo queue a lot, whether it be like World Tour, and I know you played a bit of ranked, do you feel like the experience that you had playing off meta was negative? Like, I've heard a ton of people that like playing off meta say that, all their solo queue teammates always tell them, hey, can you please get off this sniper? Stop using bow, stop using this. Like, has your experience been good there?
When I first started playing the game, it may have been a little bit more negative. Whenever you load in and they see you as a solo queue light, they immediately write you off. It's pretty common in other games. I've always played off meta, so as a ball one trick in Overwatch, people see that, write it off as a loss. Neon one trick in Valorant, Octane one trick in Apex. So I'm sort of used to taking heat on the character select screen. But then if you're nice enough, people tend to be nice. You're always going to get toxic people like any game, but no worse than other games. More recently, of course, I think it's a little bit different when you queue in and your teammates recognize you as the broadcaster, and then they just kind of want to see you pop off, which provides a whole other issue to me, because then there's an expectation that I will play like I do in my 8-minute YouTube montage that was pulled out of 12 hours of gameplay, and maybe I'm not so dialed in that game. Maybe I haven't had the chicken yet or something like that. And so that does get a little bit stressful at times, but overall, I'd say the solo queue experience in this game is better than other FPS games I've played.
Yeah, because like I think it's an interesting topic of being recognized and then, being recognized for playing something off meta because I really like using bow and I used a lot of bow. And then when I switched my name and I started like solo queuing with bow, I had a lot of people asking me to get off of the bow. And then when they see me play, they end up shutting up. But it was very interesting the perception that a lot of people have around specific classes, especially like the light class often gets a lot of heat, especially when you're a solo queue player. Picking light class, a lot of people just instantly hate you, even if you're playing the meta. But I think when it comes to the meta that this game kind of has grown, it kind of gets me into my next question of: do you think that the game is balanced?
I do not think the game is balanced. However, I don't think the game needs to be balanced. I think there will always be a meta, and what that meta is sort of controlled by the devs and the competitive players in a way. And it'll be a certain set of guns, and that's how it's always going to be in every game. But there's off meta weapons too, and that's what makes those playstyles so unique. They might not be the best in a competitive sense, but it gives you the opportunity to perform with something maybe a little bit more flashy, or maybe a melee weapon, show off your skills in a different way so that not all the gameplay looks the same in a way. If you're always using the same weapon, if it's the model or if it's the FAMAS or the LH1 or whatever, it's important to have unique loadouts in the game to keep it fresh, different ways to play the game. But you will always have a hard meta, and I think that's totally okay as long as the competitive players are okay with the meta.
Yeah, I think it kind of reminds me a bit of Team Fortress 2 in that sense, where that game was never really balanced. But I think just having the options that that game brings is what the charm is. Like, sure, it's not meta. The loadout that we might be using isn't really the best pick, but we're going to make it work. And I think this game actually gives you a lot of freedom in finding ways to counter the meta with off meta. And I think that's one thing a lot of people disregard very often. There are some picks that are just straight up bad, don't get me wrong. But I think, say, something like the bow, I've spent a lot of time mastering. And when I'm locked in with it and I'm facing a good player, they often just don't respect the bow. They're just going to play really aggressively, and I can catch them off guard. And I think that's sort of the beauty of having a game that isn't this perfect balance, is that you have this freedom, all these options. And because of that, you can make the game very entertaining for yourself by just allowing yourself to have fun with whatever you're doing rather than constantly playing the same loadout, the same thing that all the top players are playing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I also agree. I don't think it's balanced, and I don't really think it needs to be. I think there's certain aspects of it that would be nice to kind of tweak, but I think the constant strive for balance and perfection in an FPS game is a huge reason why a lot of games sort of they just kind of lose their charm. I've seen it with a couple games before where there's something that might be unique about the game, but then everybody kind of latches on to some of the strong things or something that they like, and then all of a sudden the devs just continuously nerf and remove a lot of the fun mechanics in order to try and balance the game into the point where it's just sort of like a shell of its former self, and there's just not really that heart there. The game just doesn't really feel like the game that you've kind of fell in love with. So yeah, I hope the
Yeah.
finals doesn't strive too hard in order to find balance.
And not having having off meta options not only makes it more entertaining for you, like you said, but as a creator, it also makes it more entertaining for your audience, right?
Mhm.
Like people aren't used to seeing some of the loadouts that I run. Like I was running sword grapple last week for a couple of days just to see what I could do with it. Am I going to bring that into a $100,000 tournament or even like a ranked game? Probably not, but I'm still going to hit a 3-piece for somebody to watch on the toilet on TikTok tomorrow. And that's kind of the exciting part about it, is it's a loadout that you don't expect to see, and that's what's engaging to an audience.
I mean, that is the finals.
Exactly, that is the finals.
Now, do you think World Tour is a good place for the developers to kind of experiment a little bit more? Because we did previously do that, but I feel like there's a lot of things that I would like to see them kind of try out, whether it's like new additions or new tweaks to the way that the game works. Is there anything that you think that the devs should add, or do you think that we shouldn't really be experimenting with the cash out game mode?
I love it when the devs experiment with the game mode. The dancing week was some of the most fun I've had in this game, but I would like them to go even harder on the experimenting, the week to week game modes. I think it keeps the game super exciting, and it keeps people coming back every week. One game mode I think would be kind of funny, which people might call me crazy, but I think the ability to steal the cash out instantly would be a really fun game mode. So basically the last 5 seconds of the round, imagine a double stack. Everyone's just trying to slap the box, be the last person to slap the box, just throwing their bodies at the cash out. It would end in such a funny way every single game, just absolute chaos. And I don't think they should do that for ranked, don't get me wrong, but a weekend world tour would be memorable and the clips would be insane.
There's one idea that I saw in a different game that I think would work really well here. And just as a vague concept, I just want to see them add a halftime show to the World Tour mode. So like after each knockout round, there's some sort of like funny event, or maybe the teams that qualify now do like a little game mode. Just something that's
You got to
like
win a game
goofy.
of Fall Guys or something in between the rounds.
Yeah, exactly. Or it could be like an elimination thing where it's just everybody goes in one by one and fights each other. I think it was like Fragpunk who had that as like an overtime. Like there's tons of little things that I think could just be entertaining, where it's like between all this sweating between each round, we just have some really goofy thing to just kind of blow off steam. And it could make for some really entertaining clips. There could be tons of things that they can explore there. And I think it fits the theme of the finals, where it's this virtual reality game show that you have a big crowd watching. So that's my I'm going to throw that out to the devs there. Make a halftime show, whatever you guys want to do. Have fun with it.
I would love that.
Now, I've seen you dabble a little bit in ranked, but you tend to focus a lot on World Tour, as you personally love interacting with your community above all else. But is there anything that is kind of holding you back from really climbing the ranked leaderboard besides you just wanting to be an entertainer?
Yeah, I do prefer the sort of tournament casual mode that World Tour is. Like, I like how there is some sort of stakes to it. It's round base, you get knocked out, there's a final round. It's everything the same way. And I play all the time too. So like the World Tour leaderboard I'm high up on. So that's kind of fun and competitive to have rivalries with people up there. But overall, yeah, I just kind of, I think I could climb in ranked if I was to really dial back the interaction with the chat that I have, maybe switch up the loadouts a bit, get a team together a little bit more. But personally, just because I do play the game so much, if I was to get really into ranked, I'm kind of the person who obsess over it. So I would probably get a little bit more tilted than I do on World Tour, which is almost nothing. Because I really don't care if I win or I lose. I'm mostly just there to have a good time. So if I really started to obsess over ranked, it probably wouldn't be great for me. I think I'm mechanically skilled enough to do it just from countless hours on the game, but overall, it's just not really my thing. I'm just a chat guy.
And I kind of want to expand on the your ranked experience here because there's something that I think a lot of people who don't really dabble too much in ranked don't really fully understand, but you got to experience it firsthand as a content creator going into the ranked, and that is griefing. Do you find that the, griefing that happens in ranked versus, world tour is much different? And do you feel like that kind of takes away from the competitive integrity from the game? Or do you think that's just, it is what it is?
I gotta be honest, and I guess this is part of the reason I don't play ranked either. I barely notice the griefing, and it's not because it doesn't happen. People point it out to me all the time, but there's so many times that it's going on, and I am just so deep in a ramble about chicken skin that I don't even like pay attention to that sort of thing. And then people will come in and like be like, "Sorry for dancing on you." I'll be like, I don't care." Like I don't know. And so I just don't really have the ranked mindset, so it's hard to be bothered by it.
That's fair. Now, for anyone that's trying to get into the finals, what tips do you have for them in order to transition into this game easier? We know that this is a pretty unique game and it doesn't really translate as well. I feel like a lot of people that I've even coached might be really high elo in Rainbow Six or Valorant or something, but then they come here and they're just like gold. Or do you have any tips to just kind of hop in and start having more fun? Because I feel like getting into this game can be a little bit overwhelming.
I feel like World Tour is the way to do it. Even though Quick Cash is more of a quick play mode, I think it tends to be a little bit more chaotic for people that might not know what to look out for yet, because obviously it's basically a double stack all the time versus a typical 3v3 on a cash out in World Tour. So it's a little bit less hectic. You can kind of understand what's going on a little bit more, and then also you learn the game mode a lot more, the way that the placement works, everything like that. So I would say if you really want to learn the game, max out World Tour to Diamond or to Emerald before trying to jump into Ranked, and try play a couple different play styles depending on what games you played previously. If you played a tank in Overwatch, I'd recommend Heavy. If you played a fragger in Valorant, I'd recommend Light. If you're like a Call of Duty Monster Energy drink kid, I'd probably recommend Medium with an AK. I don't know. But overall, I'd say World Tour is the place to go.
I feel like one thing I've said to a lot of people before when they're first starting, they're like, hey, like I'm first starting, what should I do? My first tip always is to just try everything. I think this game is just so unique, and I wouldn't really consider myself a light player when it comes to other games or, medium or heavy. I don't even really flex that much in a lot of other games. I tend to be a one-trick pony. I like playing like Shaco all the time or Lee Sin at certain eras. Like, this game is just really unique and it offers so much variety. And I think it's really sad when I see people that have played the game for a while and they've only played one class and they're not really like having fun. And it's because they might sort of realize, or they might not realize how unique this game is. And a loadout like yours with grapple, goo, frag, and maybe even your double barrel sword, whatever you're doing, is that like I can't think of any other game where I can play that. And people might not realize that there are so many different options that just provide such a very unique experience. And so I would always highly suggest people just experiment and see what really suits you, because yeah, like you're right, you might be a tank player from other games and heavy's going to be the role that fits you, but who knows, you might try out medium and fall in love with the dematerializer playstyle. So just get out there and I just think have fun, experiment, and then figure out what suits you before you transition into trying to be too good at the game. Because once you start to min-max stuff, you're going to like just drain all the fun for yourself.
See, that is an incredible answer. However, coming from me would be incredibly hypocritical. I haven't gotten anything over level 2, except for the grappling hook, of course, and have about 1,500 hours in game. So
yeah, that's fair. I like, you found what works for you and you're having fun. So I don't really think that you really fall into too many things.
No, I'm
like
a little bit weird.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's tons of people who just stick with one thing and they have fun, and there's definitely nothing wrong with that. But I just think as somebody who's coming to the game, if you're trying to figure out what you should do, that would be it. But I think you came in with an intention of this is what I'm gonna do, and you've been rocking it for a while. And soon you're gonna have to transition into being a heavy charge main. But
Right.
we'll have to see
Well,
once you get old enough.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will say that I have set out on a new journey now, a
Oh
new
no.
quest, and that's to max out every light weapon to level 9. So I
Hmm.
am becoming a versatile gamer. Now I'm not doing gadgets and I'm not
I
doing
did
specs.
gadgets, and I'm done.
Yeah, I'm doing all the weapons.
Yeah, gadgets is fun, but there's definitely some where it just, oh man, it just takes so long, and you're just like, I hate using this. But at least the weapons, they add enough variety that's really
I
at
mean,
least engaging. Like switching from weapon to weapon can be pretty fun, but some gadgets
it
just
is.
feel like pointless.
I can't do gadgets because I mean, like, Gateway is pretty much mandatory on light, right? And then I have
Yeah,
the Goon
agreed.
and Bust, which is basically my signature move. You named it.
I did name it. I'm proud of that name.
I'm proud of it. I tell everybody.
Tell everybody about your gooning and busting. All right. So there's been a lot of trends within the FPS space for a while. We've had arena shooters, battle royales, extraction shooters, and we talked a bit about attack shooters previously. And now we've reached to this point where the FPS community is just kind of itching for the next thing. And we kind of talked about how the finals sort of fits that void. But most games are repeating genres over and over and flopping. There's a lot of big franchises slowly losing player bases, and there was a massive interest for the finals when it first came out. But I kind of want to ask you, where do you see the FPS genre as a whole going in the future? And do you think that the finals is a unique enough of a game mode to be that next trend? Do you think people are going to eventually flood over to the finals, or do you think people are going to just kind of go on to another trend? Because me personally, I feel like the finals is something that 100% could have been a trend. The concept of it is very unique. I feel like it appeals to a lot of what people like. I could see this being a battle royale situation where a lot of people just try to do their own rendition of it until somebody finally like solves it. But, where do you see the FPS genre going in the future, and where do you see the finals in the future?
I think that tack shooters will always be around. I think that that format, especially for esports, is just so good, and that's why it's worked for so long and continues to work. I do think that a lot of people are looking for something different, and I think personally, to me at least, when I was looking for something different in a game, I did find that in finals, and I think a lot of people did. A lot of people probably didn't. A lot of people probably don't know yet because they haven't tried it. Will there be a ton of people flooding into the game like a trend? I don't know. But I think the game will continue to grow its player base as more people try it because I do think it fills everybody's different, but it fills a specific gaming void. It's that no other game does, a certain feeling. Um, and I'm sure that other people feel that too, and that's what gets you, into a new game. So the more people that try it, I think that it is unique enough to continue to grow its loyal player base.
Now, do you think other developers are going to kind of catch on to what the finals has done and try to like kind of create their own version of the finals? Or do you think that's, this is going to be the only developer who makes it?
Like the cash out mode specifically.
Yeah, and I guess the virtual reality game show cash out mode kind of thing, like there's a lot of aspects that we would define as the finals. So do you think that there's going to be developers that try to copy this? Do you think that this is sort of the next big thing, or do you think it's just going to keep kind of floating by?
The overall like sort of feel of the game, like art style included, gameplay included, animations, everything like that, the maps, the lore, it is pretty cool, pretty unique. And growing up, I always played a decent amount of FPS games like Battlefield or Counter Strike or whatever. But I always imagined the future of an FPS game, like when computers got way better and games got way better, would look like something like the finals, where it's got a unique game mode. You have full destruction. You have a thousand different ways to play the game, different utility that counters specific utility that counters other utility. And it's just super fast paced, multiple different teams, comms between your teammates or whatever to make the correct play and win the game and win it all tournament style. Like it's like to me, growing up, it would have been the perfect game that I imagine, and now it's here and it fits that for me perfectly. But do I think other companies will sort of get on the future VR trend of like sort of little bit cyberpunk. I kind of hope so because I do like that style, but I think that probably not because the finals started it as a trend, probably just because that art style I think is gonna be more common
That's
as we
fair.
get into some weird AI futuristic stuff, you know.
Now, I kind of want to glaze Embark for a little bit because I genuinely think Embark is the best development team that I've ever got to meet. And I've had a lot of really cool experiences talking to a variety of developers. And I've been a content creator for other games before and never really got to have the interaction that I got to have with Embark. I know Jaeger, I did some content for them a while ago, and I really liked them. I think they were one of the other good companies that I've got to work for. But I've never seen a development team have so much passion for their own game, and they care so much about their community and have given, so much back to the people like us who are content creators. So I just want to ask, do you have any moments that really stand out as, a reason why you really like Embark and why you stand by their game so much?
Yes. So ever since I started playing the game, I tried to play originally in the beta, and I was getting a UE5 error, that was preventing me from playing, and I was
Oh, dead
troubleshooting that
game.
for. Sorry.
Oh, dead game.
Yeah, dead game, right?
Dead
I
game.
was troubleshooting it for multiple days actually, because I really wanted to try the game after I saw the trailer and then some gameplay. I was like, this looks like my game. So I was trying it and I accidentally wiped OBS. And anyone that's been to the broadcast knows I have like a billion things in OBS. So it ended up taking multiple hours to get everything back. So I was like, okay, I won't try play the finals again. Went back to Valorant because I knew it was just going to frustrate me until I got a new PC. And then around like February, I sold my car for a PC because I really wanted to play the finals, and I just started full time on Twitch, so I didn't need the car, but I did need the finals. Ever since I bought the PC with that money, I don't think I've played another game, and I was addicted to it pretty much right away. It was about the middle of season 2 that I started. Then around late August, early September, Rob showed up in my chat randomly. I had about 15 viewers at the time, I think. And I started showing him the regular broadcast stuff, the animations, the skits that I do over there. And he was immediately blown away. And then other Embark employees started showing up in the chat too. And that was pretty cool for me because I had never had any dev teams or anything like that interact with me at all before. And so that was neat. So I started making mini-me's for them, hoping they'd come back. If you don't know what a mini-me is, it's like a little animation of myself that I play on the broadcast that is just like a character as part of my show.
Well, they're gonna know
And they
because
really.
they interrupted my intro to
Oh,
this.
right. He was here.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that guy also says hi to Rob and Dusty when they come by. So I guess they liked that and they kept coming by. And for the last 3 months now, I've been part of their partner program, which has been super sick. And even before that, I think I got a raid from them. And in all caps, the official finals channel said, "It's a broadcast." And we pinned that. We pinned that all day. And so they just, I don't know, they seem to really see the passion that I have for broadcasting and see my vision a little bit for the future of the broadcast, the same way that I think they recognize that I see their vision for the future of the finals. So I think that we make good partners. I love Embark.
Yeah. I can't thank them enough for all the effort that they've gone through to support all of us. And I think a lot of it just kind of goes unnoticed, which is really unfortunate. I think there's a lot of stuff that I wish I could share publicly that, I've talked to some of them. Even like, Rob, like just being able to DM Rob and just talk about stuff. He sent me like pictures of his farm and stuff like that. Like I've never really had that kind of relationship with any developer before. And it's cool that they're just people like the rest of us. They don't try to be so businessy. They're not very fake with us. They're very real, and yeah, they constantly support us. And yeah, that's our little glaze session. But
I will say one thing about Embark, and hopefully I don't get in trouble for this, but for the partner program, whenever I go to submit my content to them to show them what I've worked on, they replaced every time that it says stream within that menu with the word broadcast in all caps. So they're good by me. They put in the work. They put in the passion.
yeah, that just shows that they're actually paying attention to
Yeah,
their
exactly.
community, and we're not just
Yeah.
copy and paste creators that they just kind of push us out. They definitely like take the time to get to know us, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Now, where do you see the finals in like 5 years? Like, what do you want to see for it in terms of content, in terms of, you know, what you're doing for the game, in terms of what Embark is doing for the game? Like, where do you see the finals in 5 years?
If they're still pushing out weekly sort of updates like they have been, and still doing seasons, which I hope they are, and I think they are planning to um continue this for the long run, the game that is, then not too different, but just more content. I'm hoping maybe we dive into custom games a little bit, like sandbox style could be pretty cool. Um, that would be something neat I'd like to see in the game. More options for custom lobbies, like being able to, something simple like just have low gravity on the whole lobby. Hoping to see stuff like that, so you can do experiments with orbital lasers or whatever, right? Or even the ability to pick under construction soul when you're going into a private, so you don't have to just keep hoping you get that one.
That is true. Yeah, I was gonna ask next, like, if there's anything in particular that you want to be added, but I do agree having better custom match options would be really nice. I've also suggested them adding some sort of community tab in order for people to just kind of host their own games, giving us enough freedom to customize each lobby as well.
Yeah,
And even adding like modding support, I know that can be pretty complicated for a lot of developers to push out, takes a lot of time and effort, but giving the players modding support, in my opinion, really fits the theme of the finals, where it's this virtual game show where we get to customize our own characters and, you know, play in this, really fun space. So giving the players the freedom to mod and make their own little game modes, I think could be really, really fun. I remember hosting a zombie game mode before where we kind of had to play Banquet and we had very strict rules on how things were played out. And when you have a full lobby of people that are, following those rules, it becomes really, really fun. But, being able to make a game mode where we can restrict it enough that people are kind of
yeah,
forced to play it, I think would be really nice. And I also feel like, especially for you, where you love focusing on your community, you love focusing on having fun, that would be so, so awesome. It'd be really cool to just, if you and I hosted like these 12-man lobbies of these custom game modes and just try to make some really cool content out of that. That would definitely be something that I would love to see from them in the future, but we'll have to see. It does take a lot of time to develop something like that.
yeah. I come from like Counter Strike and TF2 and Gary's mod. Like I loved Surf Counter Strike. I would love to see something like that come out of the finals, because when I get low gravity, I am no longer thinking about the objectives. I am hitting a fat grapple off the Church of Monaco and looping the whole map with B hops. So just like let me do that.
That would be cool. The movement in this game is so cool. Being able to like make custom like movement maps and stuff like that would be so sick.
I would love it. I would love it so much. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping they work on a bit more. But
Now I want to ask you a fun question here. If the developers said that they're going to make you one custom skin, what would it be?
so I would love to be able to do a bundle.
Okay, I'll give you that. What would your bundle look like?
So a couple options here, but if we were gonna do the double barrel, um, it would have to be loaded up with custom ones, and so that's an Oreo where you put cheese in the middle. And so I eat those all the time on the broadcast. It's just one of the things we do over there.
Very healthy.
So to have something like that, and then something with a nice inspect animation. Personally, I have my inspect weapon bound to a foot pedal, so I'm constantly mashing it with my dogs. So if it was like you'd take apart the Oreo and then you'd kind of like scrape the cheese on it, could be the inspect animation. Then you put it back in the gun or whatever. And then of course a gateway would be part of the kit. I don't know exactly the skin that I would do on that, but then the goo and bust, of course, and the grenade itself would be a rotisserie chicken that
Ooh.
you would just underhand lob over the goo, which I'll get maybe the goo's a green screen. No, because we can't actually do goo screen. Well, I'll get back to you on the goo, but basically, I want a bundle, a whole bundle.
All right, you got to write this all down and send it to Rob. I'm sure you'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, and then a bird mask too, because yeah, I got extras.
I feel like there's so many different moments in this game that have been really iconic to me, and I'm really excited to kind of see where the game goes. Because I mean, a lot of stuff that you're referencing is just through the times being a broadcaster. There's been so many like monumental moments and just really cool, unique interactions that you've had with your community that I feel like would be really cool to tie into the game. But I do have one final question to end this discussion, and that is, does the Neonverse have ASUS? And if so, can I get some?
Yes. Tier 3 broadcast. Okay, wait. I have one question for you, though.
Okay.
How much of a chicken's body is its skin on a percent base?
Like 30?
It's 8 to 20%. But if you could find me a chicken with extra skin, then I would just be forever thankful.
Yeah, I guess it depends where you get it from, right? Like I think those.
Yeah, I'm looking for one of the GMO chickens that has
I
skin
feel like
all the way to the bone.
I feel like their ratio for skin would probably be low. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's just a lot of fat there. They get a little bit more skin because of it.
Yeah.
Maybe it
I'm
depends.
hoping to figure out a way to get more skin, but anyways, we'll work on that later.
We'll figure it out.
All right.
I'll let you go.
Sounds good, buddy.